fact, it is almost back to school time. And so we are kind of in the throes of getting all of the things ready to go for this coming school year. Today, I'm gonna walk you through how I set up our homeschool planner using reverse record keeping as a stress-free way to keep track of everything that we do in our homeschool. Certainly, there is no right or wrong way to do your homeschool planning. It is as different as every homeschool is different. Everyone really needs to do things in a way that works for them. So today I'm just gonna show you what we do in our homeschool that helps me to just kind of have a peaceful flow to our week versus the stress of feeling like I have to fit everything in and check all of the boxes. So if that's something that you can relate to, stick around and I'm gonna show you how to create a more stress-free planning experience. If you're new here, my name's Erin. I'm a homeschooling mom to 4 kids, and we are just getting ready to start our 8th year of homeschooling. That is crazy. I can't believe it's 8 years. But anyway, I love to share things here on this channel that are just things that I have learned along our process of homeschooling that has helped me to create a more peaceful and relaxed atmosphere in our home. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button. When I first started homeschooling, my mind was like set in that traditional school mentality of looking at all of the things that we have to do and writing it out in my planner so that I would have like this checklist of what I needed to do each day, because that kind of gave me this idea or this impression in my mind that then I wouldn't miss anything and I wouldn't leave anything out, right, if everything was planned ahead of time. However, the problem came when things tend to come up when life happens and you aren't always able to get to everything that you have planned out. And so then the challenge becomes, what happens then if I have, say, I had planned to do lesson 5 of language arts, lesson 8 of math, lesson 7 for history on a given day, and then, something comes up and I don't get to those things. Then what do I do the next day where my planner already has marked out lesson 6 of math, the next one on for who knows how long far into the future? Then everything needs to be shifted. And that becomes a huge obstacle when you're trying to get your planning done, because then it just kind of negates all of that work that you have done to plan everything out. Let me just give you a little peek at one of my old homeschool planners so you can see kind of what I'm talking about. This is not pretty, guys. So here I have the different subjects and I made my little check boxes, right? I wrote out the lessons that we're gonna do each day, and then I had my check boxes so I could mark off what we did to make sure that we got everything done. Look at the next week. You see how much whiteout there is here? Because things didn't get done right, and then I had to white out everything that I had written. By October here, I finally figured out that that just didn't work for me. That just caused a lot of stress, and I started keeping track of what we were doing after the fact. And that made a huge difference for me because I didn't constantly feel behind then and didn't feel like I was slave to this checklist and feel like we didn't get everything done that I needed to get done in a given day if something wasn't checked off. So rather than having, in this old way, having the focus be on what we don't get done each day, by reverse record keeping, we get to focus on what we do get done each day. And that little shift in the mentality makes a huge difference in just bringing a little bit of peace to your own heart and your own mind as you go about your homeschool day. Basically, using your planner as a means of writing down what you have done for the day after it happens, rather than the traditional method of planning out every single lesson and writing all of those in the planner. What you do instead is write down at the end of the day what you did for that day. So what you actually accomplished. If you are a hardcore planner, that may be a cringeworthy statement to you, and that's okay. If you want to plan ahead of time, by all means, do what works for you. I am certainly not here to tell you that this is the only way to do it, or even that it's the best way to do it. This is just what works for us, and I want to share what has been helpful so that it can help you out too, possibly. All of this is not to say that I am just like a, hey, let's wing it kind of girl. We definitely have a plan and some structure figured out with our routine. And you can check out my block scheduling video here that I did a few months ago, kind of about how our normal day flows and what we do in a given day and kind of how I plan that out. And that helps me to make sure that we're staying on track and still getting everything done, but not feeling that pressure to get specific lessons done on specific days, if that makes sense. It's like language arts and math and Bible and kind of our group subjects all together every day that we do schoolwork, but I'm not tied to a specific lesson number. So in case something doesn't work out on a given day and we aren't able to get to something, we can just pick it up the next day and then write that down in the planner for what we had gotten done. And that kind of just helps contribute to this peaceful rhythm that I'm trying to have happen in our home here. So basically how this works with reverse record keeping is that ideally, doesn't always happen because I'm not always on top of it, but ideally I would go through at the end of each day and mark down, or throughout the day as we're doing things, what lesson they're doing for math, language arts, all of those kind of things will go here, in addition to whatever else they decide to do, like piano and handwriting and things like that. I just tell them how many times per week they need to do some of those kind of things, and then they're free to do them on whichever day that they want them to be done. And so then I will write that here on the day that they do those type of things. Our family subjects that we do are the things that we do in our morning time. I did just post a video about our morning time plans and how to create a loop schedule. If that's something you're interested in, make sure you check out that video after you're done watching this one. Certainly with reverse record keeping, you can still go ahead and plan out some of the things that you do want to do. If there is something like, Thursday is going to be a field trip day, that you could go in and mark that in, or some other kind of extracurricular activity happens on a certain day for a certain kid, you could mark that in and plan that ahead of time. For me personally, I prefer not having as strict of a structure with how our day and our week is going to go, so that my kids have the chance to pursue something deeper if their passion or their curiosity is ignited on a certain subject. Say they're studying something in science and they get really interested in it and they just want to know more. For me, I'm okay then if they don't do their handwriting lesson that day, or if they don't have enough time to finish a language arts assignment or something like that occasionally, to allow them to pursue that interest. So this works much better for me, to write down after the fact what they've done and allow them that freedom to kind of go where the flame is going. I personally try to find as much curriculum as possible that is just open and go, that doesn't require a lot of planning or prep ahead of time, because for me, I know that if it has a ton of prep, it's just not going to happen. And so this method of planning works well for me, because most of the stuff that we do is just grab it off the shelf, open it up, and do it or read it. If you have a curriculum that does have a lot of prep work involved, you may have a lot more planning that needs to go into what you do and figuring out what you need to have ready for each day. Reverse record keeping also works really well for people that use a full box curriculum where it already has kind of your scope and sequence and your lesson plans already laid out for you. There's really no point in double doing the effort and writing all out in here again ahead of time. Really, if you use that kind of system and then use reverse record keeping where you just write down what you did for the day, then it's really this becomes more of a record of what you've done versus a plan ahead schedule. It's important to keep in the back of your mind too that you don't have to do every subject every day. Pick maybe the core things like math and language arts that you do every day that you do school. And then it works really, really well to cycle through or loop or block schedule the rest of your subjects. Doing some kind of loop schedule is tremendously beneficial in that regard. As well as with your curriculum, don't feel like you have to do every single lesson as you're going through it. Your curriculum is there as a guideline. It is there to help you, not to burden you. And so the key is, as you're going through curriculum, to keep in mind that you can skip things. If your child is already familiar with the concept, has already mastered it, skip it. Move on. Do not beat a dead horse, right? Go ahead and move on to the next lesson and just scratch it out on that checklist. Or if you feel like your child is really struggling with a concept, it is okay to make that lesson take 2 or 3 days or whatever it takes to make sure that your child understands the concept. So don't feel like you are beholden to that lesson list that's in your curriculum. It is there, again, to help you, not to hinder you. It is a guide for your use, to use how you please. The important thing is to figure out what is going to work best for you, to bring you peace and to make you feel like you are on track and doing all the things that you need to do. So take what I'm saying here with a grain of salt. Maybe it'll spark a new idea of a different way to try something. Maybe give it a try and see how it goes. And if it doesn't work, then switch back to your old method of planning. But for me, this way of doing things has been a huge time saver, for one, and a peace bringer, secondly, which is probably, in my mind, more important to me. So what about you? Do you do reverse record keeping, or was this like a totally brand new idea to you? I'm really curious. Will you drop a comment below and let me know how you go about your planning for your homeschool year? If you have any questions about how this works, maybe I didn't explain something well enough for you, I would be happy to try to explain further. You can drop that in the comments below as well, and I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I wish you a very peaceful planning process.